All right. Welcome to another edition of the Jerry Foster SEMO Music and Art Podcast. I've yet to change the name. I have cough drop in my mouth. I'm really excited about today's guest, who's somewhat of a legend around here, and is, I believe that's how he describes himself at the Water Bucket Challenge at the Z95 studio.
That was a great day, man.
Yeah.
That was great.
He stands in at 7'20". That is a real measurement. I'm proud to call him a friend, hell of a keyboard player, Mr. Roy Ward. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Jerry. Glad to be here, brother.
It's a cold day out there.
Yes, it's about 15 degrees at my house.
Which makes it probably about
19 here.
19 here.
Yeah, it's a little warmer in town.
Yeah. So we got to jam this weekend. That was really cool.
That was great, man.
Man, just leading into that, Jeff Chapman, who owns Trumbull Hill Studio, he's been on me for years. Come over here, check it out. Come over to the studio, and just for whatever reason, I was dealing with personal stuff, and I had not made it over there.
Right.
Finally did. Now I'm kicking my ass for not having done it.
All right. Well, it's a good little haul over there, man. You know.
Yeah.
And
even more so if you live at the lake like you do.
Right. You know, it's 45 minutes, hard hour one way. You know.
Yeah. But it's so worth it.
Oh, it's so worth it.
It was so much fun. It was great to get to see Jim Helly. Hadn't seen him in a few years. I hadn't seen Dwayne in a while, and
it'd been 20 years since I seen Jim. You know, and that was back, like I said, in the Apex days, back before Backdraft and, you know, all those bands, you know.
We're going to get into all of that, too.
Yes.
That's one of the things I've really been wanting to do with this podcast, and we talked about this before, is I really want the history side of the SEMO music to come out in these podcasts.
Right.
If this thing ended tomorrow, the one goal I would like to get from these podcasts is to get the history that has led up to where the music scene is now.
Right. It has changed so much in the last 30, 35 years. I mean,
and that's why
it's almost come full circle, except for the fact that everybody now is a lot more friendly to one another. It's not a big competition, big secretive thing, you know, of what everybody's doing. Unless you're Jesse Hammock, and that's just Jesse. You know,
yeah.
He's Mr. Secret, but as far as you know, everybody getting along. You know?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it wasn't like that.
I don't know Jesse very well. I've you know, met him through the music scene. We don't hang out outside of just crossing paths. You know, we talk and we're very cordial.
Right. I see him every now and then. You know, happen to meet.
But yeah,
him,
he is kind of a secretive guy. But yeah, I talked to. When did I just talk to him? Day before yesterday. About being on the podcast.
Right. When I say secretive guy, I'm not talking about being a secretive guy. Other than
he's private.
The music projects that he's on, you know, until they come out or they're released, he doesn't talk about them. He doesn't say, "Well, we're working on this," and you know, we're working on that. It's a hush hush thing until here you go, you know, and then it becomes, you know, the thing. So
that could be pretty smart, actually.
Yes.
That could be pretty good marketing technique.
Yeah, well, he's such a wordsmith, man.
Yeah.
You know, the guy is just so uber freaking talented when it comes to writing words.
Yeah.
Love it.
He's a lyrics guy.
Lyrics guy, guru.
So of all the instruments, you know, I think of you as the keyboard player of Southeast Missouri, the man.
Thank you, brother.
There is no style I have heard you not play well.
Thank you.
I've heard you throw down on funky shit. You and I have jammed together, just clowning around at benefits or whatever, doing like honky tonk type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend we jammed rock. And you play it well.
Thank you.
You play it very well. I don't want to get into when you got started or how old you are, unless that's something you want to do. But I would think you grew up in that age of the Guitar Hero.
No.
No?
No.
Explain.
Explain.
Like, how did you veer to keyboards versus say, I want to be a guitar? Because to me, guitar, I say you grew up in the era of Guitar Hero. To me, guitar kind of kicked off rock and roll, so to speak.
Right. Well, you know, since we are doing the the podcast, and if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, lay it on me, dude.
I was an only child till I was about 3 years old, and then I discovered I had a brother.
Okay.
Okay? Up until then, fat boy, didn't have many friends, played the piano. Mom showed me a few chords. Dug the shit out of Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, yeah, that's my band.
Right,
Yeah.
so by second grade, I was doing tunes like Bad Moon Rising, Looking Out My Back Door, and I was playing the shit out of the piano in second grade. Because, like I said, didn't have many friends, you know, had a little asthma thing when I was young, couldn't go outside and run, carry on, you know, overweight. It just happened to be a product of myself. So when I went to the piano and kicked that piano stool out and sat down, well, that son of a bitch became mine for as long as I wanted it. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, give me my damn football, I'm going home, you fat kid. It was, I owned that son of a bitch while I sat there. And it just became, you know, instead of Saturday mornings in the wintertime when it was cold, I didn't go outside and go sledding. You know, I turned cartoons on, turned the volume down, watched cartoons, and I'd sit there and I'd play. You know, and when I was 8 years old, I got my first gig at Lonnie's down 67 South with Chuck Wyatt. Chuck and Leroy. I don't know if you're familiar.
Not familiar.
Chuck Wyatt was a piano entertainer. There was different variations, Chuck and Irving and a bunch of different guys. But like I said, I'm going back 68, 69. We would go down. Everybody played softball all the time. Softball, drink mega amounts of beer down at Wiley Park.
Okay.
Okay. After the ball games was over, everybody went to Lonnie's. Okay. Well, then they started having Chuck come up and play. And my father happened to tell Chuck, you know, my son, he plays piano. He plays a couple of Creedence songs. So Chuck started having me come down there and I would play his breaks, his 10, 15-minute breaks. I would play 3 of them. And he would give me $5 and buy me 2 cheeseburgers and a Mountain Dew. So the whole summer of 1969, when I was 8 years old, that was my gig. And that's how I got started playing, you know, gigging.
How much did you learn gigging? Because they always say you got to log in your 10,000 hours gigging to sort of pay your dues. That's your pay your dues thing.
Right.
And we also say that recording's one thing. Getting out and interacting with others will also boost your. So I'm guessing up until then, you were sitting at home playing along to records or just making up whatever. Heard a melody, learned it, played it. How much would you say that your playing improved at age 8 when you actually got out and was playing sort of regularly with a band?
Well, it wasn't with the band.
It was just you and him.
It was just me and him.
Okay,
he had a little electric drummer box. It looked about the size of an old Bearcat scanner, and had an array of buttons. You know, Basambo, Country Swing 1, Country Swing 2, rock, not rock and roll, rock. You know, the 4, straight 4, like a what we would call a bluegrass rock. You know, a fast 4, and he would sing every song that he knew, and I would sit there and just, you know, play chords and stuff, and every now and then I'd do a little diddle on the keyboard.
Ken Simpson has a name for your licks.
What is it?
Twinkles.
Twinkles.
He says, man, we'd be recording something. He'd say, man, we need some Roy Ward twinkles on that.
That's hilarious, man.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, right.
If Ken loves you, he's got a nickname for you.
Right.
Or he'll come up with something for you.
That's cool. Ken's a pretty solid guy, too.
Boy, he is.
Yeah.
Musical.
Yes.
I do can play anything he puts his hands on.
I know.
Which is pretty cool. Very musical guy.
Yes.
So you're 8 years old. What do you remember the first time you did it? I love hearing the first time gigs, man.
I was nervous as shit, brother. and Chuck, he goes, I'm going to bring a young man up here to play some piano for us. I go, y'all welcome to the stage, Little Fats. He called me Little Fats Domino.
Little Fats Domino.
Yeah, I weighed 103 pounds in the 3rd grade, so I was a healthy, young, strapping Southeast Missouri boy.
Were you tall?
Yeah, I was over 5 foot in the 3rd grade.
Holy hell. I believe it.
3rd, 4th grade.
I believe it.
But anyway, we used to, and he would haul me around. You know, Dad and Mom would haul me around to go meet him, and he'd already have the stuff set up. And people would come and bend over the piano and throw money on the keyboard where I was playing because they didn't believe that I was playing it.
Now, were you playing an actual like upright piano?
Upright acoustic spinet piano.
And they had it at the bar.
Had it at the bar.
Gotcha. So
With
you
a-
didn't have to like tote a piano around.
No. That came later. That was the 80s.
Okay. We will get to that.
But no, they had a piano there and had a piece of styrofoam wrapped around a mic, so we didn't get that ambionic roar if you turned it up too loud inside of the acoustic chamber of the piano.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, and I just love Chuck to death, and he would show me some really, really cool licks, every now and then, tell jokes, and he had a dummy that would pop up out of the piano, which had blackface. It was Leroy, Chuck and Leroy, the dummy.
That's funny.
And he would talk to the dummy, and what do you think about Little Fats? No, that kid can play,
Sure.
And it was a show. It was an entertaining thing.
How important, obviously, having done that as a kid, I got started as a kid too. We sort of live in an age, I think, where people are almost afraid to give compliments.
Right.
At times, especially the little kids. Oh, I don't want them getting a big head. At the same time, how important was that to you, and how much did it encourage you to keep going?
It was light years of encouragement, man. You
Yeah.
know, back
See,
back in those days, we didn't get a damn trophy for participation.
Right.
You either cut the frickin' mustard or you went home.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was hard. It was hardcore. People were mean.
Really.
But if you were on that side, people were extremely nice to you.
Mm-hmm. You had to prove yourself.
You had to prove yourself.
You couldn't just go up there and half-ass it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. Of course, now it was a little bit. It was a little more forgiving for a kid.
Well, sure.
Because the adults, even though they're drinking, man, kid can play, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Can you do some George? Or something. And I didn't know the songs. And Chuck would go, give me a G, and he'd kick that drum off, and some every now and then, he'd pick up the acoustic guitar and just kind of thump the bass line. But I learned a lot from him as far as, being confident, because he wasn't scared of shit. It didn't matter if he had a room full of hecklers. It didn't matter to him whatsoever, because he was going to get paid regardless. Said, it don't matter if you like me or not, because I'm going to get paid anyway. So we might as well have fun. And I learned that in the 60s. So it's like, well, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got my start.
And that was Chuck White.
Chuck Wyatt.
Wyatt.
Chuck
and you
and
said
Leroy.
you had okay, Leroy was the dummy.
Yeah,
okay.
Leroy was the dummy.
That's hilarious, man. I'm just trying to picture a little, well, not so little, but child Roy throwing down without a beard, just laying it down on piano. That had to have been
big, round,
half adorable and just half awesome.
It was a different time, man. It sure was.
What were people like back then? Like you said, you had to kind of prove yourself or whatever. Back then when they went and saw Chuck and Leroy and Little Roy, were they there to chase ass or were they there to listen to music?
They was there to drink beer and fellowship and see their friends.
Yeah.
And the entertainment just happened to be there, and it kept them there visiting, the way that I can remember it.
Yeah.
Because even on ball nights when there wasn't entertainment, that place would still pack up.
It was
Lonnie's is where the old subway
Yep.
is on South 67.
And then it became what was it there at the late 90s? It was. I know exactly where you're talking about though.
Yes.
I know exactly.
The Orkin building was right behind it.
Yeah.
Yep, right there by LeGrand Feeds.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I want to say it was like Jerry's Pub. Or
It was Jerry's Pub.
That's
you
it.
are right.
Jerry's Pub.
Yes.
Yeah, Jerry's.
Had
You
to-
would think I would remember that, given
Yes.
my name.
Yes.
So after your residency or whatever with Chuck, your time playing with Chuck, and you're moving a little bit, you're moving along. When was your first official band sort of gig thing, or where was it? I just want you to tell the story. I don't really. From there to when you put your first band together or were invited or whatever, just from that point to where you were in your first gigging band, what happened in between there?
Well, from about 8 years old, 9, then I went into the baseball thing and going to school and trying to grow up and find out who the hell I was.
Yeah.
And picking up friends along the way, and of course, all from the '60s to the mid '70s, things really changed, and we'll get on to how things changed and progressed as through the '70s and the '80s. But I guess the next time, J. Ray Wills and the whole creation,
Rest in peace.
yes, rest in peace, was looking for a keyboard player, and I think I was about 13 or 14 years old, and him and his brother Jerry, I think it was Jerry Wills, come over to the house and did a little audition thing on a piano. Of course, they didn't bring any music with them or any lyrics or anything to play along, and kind of interviewed me. You know, what songs can you do? Can you do this one? Can you do this one? And going from the Jerry Lee Lewis thing that I cut my teeth on every weekend when Dad come in off the truck, because Dad was a truck driver, and all the guys from Row Furniture piled at the Ward's house, and we cooked hog and we drank beer and we played music till wee hours in the morning. Well, at the end of that was all country stuff. You know, Jerry Lee Lewis, Merle Haggard, George Jones, all that stuff. So I didn't really know any of the secular stuff that the younger folks.
Gotcha.
You know, so I didn't make the cut. And then, I don't know, I guess it was somewhere 77, 78, along about the time I was 16 years old, met Jess Emery from Detroit. Him and Paula and Robin and Michael and all the kids moved down here, and Jess was a guitar player. And we rode the same school bus, so we started playing and put a little thing together called Tailor Made, and won the Battle of the Bands in the year of '78 down under the parking lot down there at Broadway, where the old post office used to be.
Yeah.
So, and that was '78, and then in the early '80s went on the road, did the Holiday Inn circuit, toured the Midwest, and
As Tailor Made?
no,
Okay.
Tailor Made pretty much imploded
Okay.
after that.
The two-man band?
No, it was Gary Brady, Jess, myself, Louis Stinger, and Randy Jenkins.
What happened to all these guys?
Kind of just faded away. Gary, rest in peace. Coyote hunting, stepped over a fence and shot himself in the leg and
Oh, man.
bled to death there
Yeah,
on farm somewhere hunting. And I think Louis had just passed last year, which I hadn't seen a lot of those guys in years and years. And of course, Jess moved to Florida, opened up a couple of.
But he still comes up for Wopstock?
Still comes up for Wopstock. I did a little show with him up at the Wine Rack here back in the fall. That was a lot of fun, and got some of his family up to play. And you know, it's a lot more relaxed than it used to be. Everybody used to be so keyed up and so nervous, and no, I can't let nobody see me do this. And yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, they were really protective of the image.
It was that, and it was very competitive. You know.
Why was that?
Because there was only 4 or 5 places to play that was
Gotcha.
worth a shit.
Gotcha.
You know, you had Log and Stone, you had Cardwell Country Club, you had there was a couple of bars downtown.
You talking about Cardwell, Missouri?
Cardwell, Missouri, yes sir.
Holy shit! So that was considered part of the.
Yes.
For those not familiar, Cardwell's probably what?
Hour and a half from here.
Yeah, I was going to say a good 70, 75 miles away from here.
Yes sir.
Which, by the way, didn't some of the fellas from Kentucky Headhunters come from that area?
Yes, Zenith, just outside
go.
of there, yeah.
The only time I've ever been there was driving on the way to Manila, Arkansas to play a
Right.
gig.
Right.
A gig in Manila, Arkansas.
Well,
Let that sink in.
Back in the back in the late '70s, early '80s, $250 for a band for the night. That was good money.
I believe
You
it.
know, that was real good money. Every now and then you could get a gig down at the Air Force Base
Yeah.
at Acres down there. I played the NCO club. I did a few of those shows, and that was crazy. Those guys, those Air Force guys back in those days, they partied pretty hard. But
Any good stories from those gigs?
man, dude,
Anything
I got one.
anything
I got
that
one
just,
story, but I can't tell it. I just can't tell it. Not from the NCO club.
I understand. I understand. Having served in the military, I can imagine.
Okay, I will tell you this. It was the first time I ever saw a rocket box full of tie stick. Swear to God on my mother's grave. Prettiest thing I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Big
Left
old lime green with wrapped up in the silk on the bamboo shoots. a rocket box full of them. I said, "Where'd that come from?" He said, "Off of B-52." I said, "Okay, that's all I need to know." I was 17 years old, dude. Freaked the hell out of me, man. True shit.
So what happened in the 80s?
So
what went on in the 80s? Was it still competitive?
Worse.
Even worse.
Even worse.
Mm.
Didn't get better until I'm gonna say probably somewhere in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, there wasn't that many places to play.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was jockeying for the best musicians they could find.
Yeah.
You know, like Caged Rage, it was me and Jim Plum, Bill Garrett, Jeff James, Doug Donovan. You know, we were doing stuff like Working for the Weekend, Wintertime, Jump by Van Halen. These songs wasn't out in a couple of months. And we were doing the top.
You guys were on top of it.
We were on top of it. And Blister with Josh Forsman and Chris Kelly and Alan Buttrey and John Jr. and those guys, you know, they were pretty much our competition. You had Main Street, which those guys were all real nice. Bob Ash and Bruce Zimmerman and Tom Menley.
Bruce is a really stand-up dude.
He is
and
a
phenomenal.
songwriting machine, dude.
And
He sure is.
He's a guitar-playing machine,
Yes,
too.
yes. I haven't seen him in years, but you
Really?
know,
I saw him actually at the Wine Rack maybe 2 years ago, 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Right on.
Tearing it up.
That's killer.
tearing it
And
up.
still booking and gigging all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and he's probably 6-8 years my senior.
Yeah.
You know,
Which makes him about 35.
36. Yeah.
Yeah, 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives me hope, you know?
Gives you hope.
Bruce, you give me hope.
You give us something to live for, Bruce.
I do. I really love to hear him play, man. He was doing Sultans of Swing and just tore it up.
Right.
Note for note. You know,
But anyway, like I was saying,
Yeah.
all these bands are doing the most recent stuff that they can to gain popularity, to be able to cut guys' heads, you know. Oh, these guys are doing these tunes, man. We need to hire them. Yeah, well, don't book those guys because, you know, they're getting a little stale.
was it ever friendly?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
No.
No, you ask Chapman or Simpson or any of
Yeah.
them back in those days, no, you might wave and be nice and put up with people when you seen them in the clubs where you
Yeah.
was playing, and other bands would come check out these bands, you know, and we would be kind of cordial to one another. But as far as, you know, liking each other, I don't think so. I didn't get that vibe.
So
You
what
know-
happened whenever? Because I mean, everybody has played with everyone around here.
It's because we've put up with each other's shit for decades, and we've come to accept each other as friends. You know, that's the only thing I can figure out, right?
But that's what I was going to ask. How do you go from hating this son of a bitch to being in a band with him?
Money.
Wow. I got to say, I'm glad it's not like that now.
I am too.
I really am. I'm glad
Times
that...
was a little harder back then, brother. You know.
Oh, yeah.
I remember those days riding on the hood of an Impala truck with a shotgun, spotlighting rabbits, by God, so you could have something to eat. You know,
Damn.
during the alcohol and the dope days.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just being as
Now,
black and white as by God I can.
This is completely and
You know,
totally uncensored
Uh,
program. You can say whatever the hell you want.
you know, but then again, I'm talking 30, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of dope, was meth around back then?
Hell no.
I didn't think so.
Shit, no, man.
I don't remember that stuff getting big until like the 90s. It may have been around in the 80s, but I was just unaware because
I tried it once in 1980. But then
Okay, so it was around in 1980.
But it had come from California.
Yeah.
I just happened to be at a party. Well, the guy was a truck driver.
Uh-huh.
And the guy goes, "Come here, man, I want to show you something."
Yeah.
And he walked in with his friends, like, "You want one of these?" I go, "I ain't never done it before in my life." He goes, "Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Now's your chance. Now's your time." And it's like, okay, well, what the hell? You know?
Only by the grace of God did I not get caught up in that. I mean, I was a boozer. I would drink, smoke pot all day long and drink all day long. And most people know I've had to give all that up. It just
Right.
it didn't work for me. It
Right.
started working against me. But man, I've just seen that meth just take the soul out of people. I mean,
Right.
literally take their soul.
Right. Change people.
Just changes them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's few things I would ever tell anybody anything about. I believe your body is yours. Do whatever you want with, and if you want to do that stuff, more power to you. But it's one thing I will highly suggest: Don't get into that, man.
Yeah.
It can just ruin you. It kill creativity.
It
kill your body, mind, and soul, and your spiritual. I mean, just
anything that you can feel like death when you wake up, and do you $20 worth of that shit and feel like Superman in 15 minutes. I can see why it totally consumes people.
Absolutely.
And I was one of them for very many years.
Yeah.
You know?
Randy Bailey was on here, and he was very candid. He used it, you know. And
it's no secret.
Was caught in the grips.
Yep.
But
that was more of a '90s thing.
Yeah.
For me. You know?
Yeah. Well, when you had said dope, I was like, because when I hear the word dope, I don't even think of weed anymore.
Right.
When I was a kid, dope was marijuana.
Right.
But now I hear dope, and I think of, or maybe speed, or
you know, back in those days, man, we had whiskey, we had beer, we had some weed. Every now and then somebody would come back from college from Springfield or up in Kansas City and bring some shrooms.
Yeah.
And you might, you know, do some shrooms. Other than that, you know, grandma's pill bottle with some Valiums, and that's about all you had access for. But plenty enough to get yourself in trouble. You know, but I never did like the pills.
Yeah.
You know, drink lots and lots of whiskey.
Yeah.
You know.
I, for one, am glad that you didn't like pills and that you're still with us.
Yeah.
That does my heart good.
Well, we lost some folks. We lost some real good folks in the late 70s and in the 80s due to drinking and pills. You know.
You ever look back and think, man, I'm one lucky motherfucker?
Dude, that old blue school bus of mine, we would load kegs up in that son of a bitch and just stay up for a couple days just driving from gig to gig. You want to go on a road trip? Oh, I want to go. Girls 15, 16 years old, 17. Hop on the bus, Gus. Let's go.
Damn.
You know, and just lucky that nothing ever happened, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody was riding there on that doghouse with me in that school bus as I was driving all over southeast Missouri to these gigs.
Yeah.
Because it was the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and I guarantee you there's a bunch of you folks out there listening. Some of y'all probably been on that old show bus with me running up and down the road drinking them keg beers. So, you know, it's no secret. But that's just funny how things change and how your attitudes change over the years.
Yeah.
About what's right, what's accepted, what's not. Man, I'm glad I got through that. Holy shit, that almost killed me.
Well, when you're young, you think you're invincible.
Bulletproof.
I remember going and getting drunk and jumping off bridges into any water. It'd be like, oh, I want to stop right here because that water looks deep enough. Jump off the fucking bridge, driving around by myself, chugging whatever I want to drink, and then go jump off a bridge.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's insanity. Thank God my daughter doesn't do that crap.
Right.
Because she's at that age now, she's 16, where I was doing that stuff. It's like, it's just insane.
Right.
And then I look back and I think, man, I wonder how many times music came into play. Because there'd be times I would give up a weekend just to sit in my room and play guitar.
Right.
Thump bass. Play on a keyboard or something. You know what I mean? Bang out some drums or whatever I get my hands on. I think, man, what if that had been the weekend?
Right.
Which luckily none of my friends went through anything like that. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I would have been with them and distracted them, and we'd all be dead. I mean, you just never know.
You never know.
But I find that thinking that way definitely keeps you humble, and it also keeps me from getting too down on people that just can't seem to get out of it. Because, man, I want to shake people sometimes and be like, snap out of it. You can do this. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about musicians. I'm getting off track of musicians.
Right.
But
sometimes all you can do is just pray for them, man, and try to, you know, help them when you can, you know.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about the music community. I have never before in my life seen the music community come together like it has in the last 5 to say probably since the beginning of Bone Stock.
Yeah.
When the inception of that has the local music community come together for a damn thing at all. You follow me?
Oh, yeah.
Because they couldn't get their shit together long enough to focus on one track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if everybody's constantly bickering and fighting and trying to chop heads, you're not going to come together.
That's right.
It's just not going to coexist.
Yeah.
Friendly competition, I love. As somebody that likes to pump out songs, I like my friends that write music. I like to be pushed. I like hearing what they're doing and going, okay, now I want to be inspired. But at the same time, I just want to share a gig with them and let's make some money, or let's just inspire one another and leave something. That way, when we're 80, 90 years old, people can look back and be like, oh, there was a guy named Jesse Hammock. There was a guy named, Roy Ward, a fellow named Jerry, a guy named Roger. I'm just naming all these friends of mine that play music, may write songs. I think it would be great to have just a little smidgen of something to leave my grandkids.
Right. Ever since you started this, I sit there at my bar up there in the hills on Possum Ridge, and I have my coffee, and I turn the TV down on sound, and I listen to your podcast.
Right on, man. I appreciate that.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm here and you're interviewing me. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed what I heard.
Yeah.
And I guess Roger Mattingly was the first one that I heard.
He was the first one.
I would laugh at you guys right along with y'all and shit, and it's like, this is really cool because I'm setting in on a conversation that I can't talk and interject, so I just got to take what I'm fed and try to put myself in their shoes,
Yeah.
Just listening to you guys talk about shit. So
it's just cool because, like you said, there's a lot of history.
And that's leaving that piece, like you were talking about.
Exactly. That has led to this camaraderie of you coming over and doing a podcast, Roger coming over, Corey coming over. Had a fellow named Kevin Dunn, sort of new on the scene here, talented fella.
Right. He's played Wopstock up on Jim's stage. I didn't get to hear him. But, since the Bone Stocks and the Wopstocks, these charities that we put together, like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and some of the Christian camps that we sponsor and we fund for these scholarships, everybody just jumped on board with both feet, toes turned out, spurs tucked in, hats on, and come out and kicked ass time and time again to do these shows.
Wopstock, I've said it a million times. Wopstock, above playing, Bone Stock, which may have drawn more people, Wopstock is my favorite gig I've ever played. Awesome. Each and every one has been my favorite one. Love playing it. We come in and just do the goofiest music. I think one year we went from Wind Cries Mary into Anarchy in the UK.
Right.
Just because we can't do that necessarily somewhere else.
Right.
So it's like, we're going to let our hair down. We're going to come up with some goofy shit. We did I Am the Walrus one year.
I was there.
I know you were there.
You guys, man.
But I mean, in case somebody wasn't there.
Right.
This is one of those gigs. You're donating your time for a hell of a good cause. There's no better cause than children, period.
Exactly.
There is no better cause than something to help children in any way, shape, or form. In my mind, that is the best cause. And then you get to go in and do what you want to do. People are receptive. Do some original music. Do some goofy cover songs. Have fun. The fellowship there is out of this world.
Off the chain, for sure.
I mean, I love and appreciate what Z95 did with Bone Stock. Don't get me wrong, because that kicked things off, really, like you said.
Right.
But it's still different because there's so much going on. There was so much going on at Bone. You got these 3 stages, a tent, or whatever.
And all these vendors.
All these vendors. Great atmosphere. I love a festival atmosphere. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm from the school of Lollapalooza. That was my teenage year, okay? So Bone Stock was cool. Wopstock, you're not forced to be around the other musicians. They all choose to come together in that one building, bullshit, hug, laugh, crack jokes, talk about music, and raise money for kids to go to scout camp. Right. If you're listening, go to Wopstock, man.
Yeah, man.
Now, you're still part of the Wopstock thing, right?
Yes.
Have you guys set a date this year?
It's usually the Saturday before homecoming at Puxico, so we're looking anywhere between the 8th and the 12th of August. I don't know what dates that falls on, but cool. I'll know more from our fearless leader, Mr. Bancroft. He pretty much.
Old Joe.
Old Joe.
Good guy.
Yeah. If you're listening, Josephine, we give you a free plug. Go to Larry Hillis and buy a truck from him, man. He got grandkids coming one of these days. So.
Well, I can tell you, if there's anything you need me to do for Wopstock, other than play music, let me know. I'll gladly do it. I'll plug it on here. It is without a doubt. I've said it a billion times. My favorite gig, absolute favorite gig.
It is. It is a lot of fun. It's
fun.
a bust-ass
good
work.
calls.
It's a bust-ass job, man.
Yeah, I believe it.
I haul in 5 truckloads of gear just for that show.
Yeah.
You know, and Larry Carroll, God bless his heart, come over 2 years in a row, helped me hook my monster system up, you know, and set everything and get the compressors going and get the attacks on the effects going, and you know, it's a lot of work, man.
I believe it.
It's a lot of work.
We
drink a lot of wine. We have a good time.
So the 90s roll around. And this is where I came into the local music scene. I was a teenager in high school when I started getting to gig for money. But for me, it was out at the old Shiona Old Town Inn, down at Shiona Landing.
Right.
Me and some kids in high school, we get down there and we get paid $100 a piece.
Yeah.
And then
for the 90s, that was good money.
And and then I got to start sneaking in around 93. And watching, Mark McFeeters was dating a friend of mine named Mary. She would sneak me into these clubs so I could watch Mark. And me and Mark became really good buddies. That's my mentor. I'll tell any and everybody, Mark McFeeters is my guitar hero.
He is a guru.
And if I could play like anybody in particular, Mark would be one of those cats. I just love to hear him play. The dude doesn't. We were talking about this weekend at Trumbull Hill. We were talking about Mark. Dwayne and Jim Helly were saying, he doesn't clam very often. Dude doesn't clam.
Yeah.
Where were you at in that time? Because I was going and watching Mark play in that band Bliss that Ken was in, Simpson.
Yes.
Daryl Nelson and Darren Elder on drums. Rest in peace, Darren. Darren was my age, maybe a year older. He was from over in Naylor. But that's kind of when I started getting to watch the local music scene.
Right.
And really got to kind of follow it. I don't remember who you may have been playing with them.
I played with a band called Ryder. That would have been Weasel Ezell.
Weasel. Yep.
And Eddie Abernathy and Bobby Jackson from The Whole Creation.
Okay. Now, how long did that last?
About 7 years, maybe 8 years.
I think I definitely saw the band out at Evening Shade before it burned or before they rebuilt.
Right.
Smelt like a damn go in and smoke a ham.
Yeah.
That was the smokiest damn place.
The little bitty old stage with the wooden floor. Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Played
the Blue
music
Moon.
there.
It was the Blue Moon.
Hey, it was the Blue Moon.
Yeah.
I did see you there, and I remember we were talking about this before the podcast. Weasel had that G&L. I was so fascinated because it's the first time I'd actually seen one in person. I always heard about them. So I most definitely did see you play. And you said that went on how long?
About 7, 8 years. Yeah, that G&L that Weasel had, that was one of the guitars that I guess Leo Fender had got sued for.
Yeah. No, yeah. Because
Before
before copying himself.
copied the Strat, you know, it's like, oh my God. This is a Strat with a different headstock, you know. But yeah.
Well, no shit. It's Leo Fender's creation.
Oh, dude. I had Weasel's amp. He bi-amped with a PV on the bottom and a custom on top. And that G&L in the treble position just cut your head off, dude.
Yeah.
It would just literally cut your head off.
What did you learn from being in these bands? Like, every band you learn something. I'm a firm believer of that.
Well, you know, I always was a keyboard player. And
Yeah.
I always wanted, ever since I heard Eddie Van Halen do Eruption, I wanted to be a guitar player.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know, I tried and tried and tried and tried. Just never could get those melodies and those chromatic scales and do them fluid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I can on the piano. Right hand, left hand.
Yeah.
You know, so the mechanics is backwards
Mm-hmm.
as far as your lead hand goes. Lead hand on the piano is on the right hand. Lead hand on the guitar is on the left hand. Ascending, descending. Right the opposite of one another. So, you know, I learned to play some really good in the pocket rhythms. I learned about tone.
And this would be with Ryder?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I basically just paid attention more. I did the 5-6 nights a week thing through the 80s. I did about 3 years on the road with the Holiday Inns, Best Western Circuits, Hoffman Houses. You play 6 nights, you travel on the 7th, you come into a new town, you get a room. You don't make a bed or empty an ashtray for 3 years. You eat out all the time. You come home for Christmas, and that's probably where I did most of my wood shedding.
On the road?
On the road, because you play till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You stay up partying and drinking till 6. You sleep till 2. You go down and get you something. You go at the club at 5 o'clock. You practice a couple hours. Come back, hop in the shower, and you're back on the stage at 8. So 5-6 nights of that, 4 to 5 hours a night. That will tone you up.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I learned most of my stuff, as far as and again, we hauled the acoustic piano. So when everybody else was in the room getting high, I was down in the lounge tuning the piano, after it acclimated to the bar. So.
Did you lose some of that baby fat tilting that piano around?
Yes, sir, I did. The cocaine helped a lot, too.
Well, cocaine and lifting piano.
Yeah.
After a good snort of cocaine, could you lift the piano by yourself?
I did once.
God.
I sure did. Put it on that leg and just lifted her up.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah, man. But then again, I turned 21 on the road.
Yeah?
I turned 21 on the road, so.
You did a lot of growing up on the road, didn't you?
Prime physical condition,
Yeah.
in those days.
So how much growing up did you have to do on the road? It sounds like a lot.
Well, I got a phone.
Or did it stump? Seriously, did it stump emotional growth because you're kind of just getting to do what you want?
That, again, was the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
You had an agent. He'd tell you where to be. You'd sign your contracts. You knew where you was going to be 6 months ahead of time. All you had to worry about was tuning your piano and being there on time.
Yeah.
And you're there 2 weeks and you move on down the road. We were playing from Alamogordo to Milwaukee to let's see, the farthest east we went was Richmond, Indiana, right there on the border. And I think as far west as we went, I guess, would be South Dakota. So we were all over the Midwest in those 3 years.
That is really neat.
Booking out of Artists Corporation of America out of Milwaukee, Bill Rothy. So, that was. I learned a lot. I learned how to be a grown up and how to be a wild ass kid at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Have your head in the clouds but feet on the ground?
Yep. And then come home and took the bus and what gear that I'd accumulated and hooked up with Future, which was Jim Plum, Jess Emery, and some of those guys. A band called Future, which everybody knows, played all the parties during the 80s. And I hauled their gear, runs down for them.
Excuse me.
Because there wasn't that much going on to be able to add another member. You know what I mean? So, but we need a sound man. We need this, we need that. So that's basically what I did when I come off the road. And
who was the first band you recorded with? That you remember going into a studio and laying down tracks with? And what was that process like? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
Yeah. I heard some J. Ray and the New Creation stuff. Mark McFeeters had a...
Breachborn is the name of the album.
Is it? Is that the only album they had? Well, this was some psychedelic sounding stuff,
the only one I remember, man.
This was some straight up gonna blow your mind, psychedelic.
Going on a hayride tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it had like some of the psychedelic staple terms, and I was like, well, obviously, I mean, here I am in bell bottoms, goofy psychedelic art. I have a thing for that era of music.
Here's the deal, man. The bigger the bell bottoms, the cooler you were.
Really?
If you could stand up and your pants covered your toes and they couldn't see your feet, you were the coolest of all.
Did you look like you were hovering on the ground?
Yes. We called them elephant legs, man.
That's great.
Yes, loved them.
That's great.
Yeah, man.
So, the 90s roll around, you're doing your thing with Weasel and Ryder. It comes to an end.
Yep.
What happens then? Was there ever a time you took off from music? And didn't have a steady sort of gig?
Yeah, when I went through my divorce, my first wife, kind of had a little substance abuse thing going on,
Gotcha.
and you know, don't talk too much about that. But it was
It's understandable.
Probably, I'm gonna say 5-year hiatus, and then after I had my accident in '89, started playing again, and that was with Ryder. Then I played with a band called Chimney Rock out of Arkansas, and that was a pretty cool gig. And various bands after that, you know, and basically what I became is just a hired gun, you know. Hey, we need a piano player. Hey, we need a guy to play rhythm guitar. Oh, you play guitar and piano? Oh, cool. Bring both, you know.
That was another thing I was going to mention. I kind of touched on it earlier whenever I said I've heard you play all these different styles. Like I said, me and you have messed around. Remember Mercy and Dave Steps
celebration,
yeah. Marriage reception thing. And before the shindig even kicked off, me and you were playing like some Merle Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing our thing. I'll just stay here and drink.
Right.
And a lot of people down here don't know I can tear up some country music, man. Learned that in Canada. Never played country in my life. Went up to Canada, learned chicken pick. Came back here and people were like, "What the fuck, man? You're a blues rocker guy. Where'd you learn to do that?" Up in Canada. Anyway,
you know, the other night at the studio at Trumbull Hill,
yeah,
when you were warming up,
yeah,
and you was doing that chicken picking, and I looked over, I go, well, "Where the fuck did that come from, Jerry? Holy shit, dude!"
Well, I don't really get to rip that out on stage much.
Yeah. Well, see, when I first saw you was in 2010 at the Rogers Theater, when you came and your band opened up for Cinderblock.
Okay.
And that was before I joined Cinderblock for the summer of 2010. We did the big fireworks festival, and and then things kind of imploded, and
Sure.
Chris went off, you know, to the military, and things kind of got weird there for a while. And but yeah, I was really impressed with y'all. And that was the first time I'd heard Ken play in forever. And he's over there doing his jumping up and down thing like he always.
He gets excited.
He gets excited, dude. And swinging that neck, you know, doing the helicopters.
Let me tell you something. I've played with some really good bass players. Ken is... that dude's got soul like James Jamerson.
Yeah.
The dude has got soul. But have you ever heard him throw down on an acoustic guitar?
You know,
he can Travis pick like a motherfucker.
You're shitting me.
He can Travis.
Merle Travis?
Merle Travis,
oh,
man. We're talking
yeah.
Chet Atkins. Ken he's amazing, and he's not a bad drummer either. And the whole time in ELB, I'm telling him, dude, record your shit. Record your shit. Me and Ken lived together for 5 years. He'd come up with a lick a day. He'd say, I'm doing a lick a day thing. A lick, for those not listening, is a run or something on the guitar.
A rudiment.
A rudiment on the guitar. Man, he would come up with one every day, and it would be different than the one before. And he's got hundreds of these just unfinished songs, and I'd be like, and I kind of feel like an asshole. I should have been like, all right, let me help you finish it. Let me help you finish it. But I was always so busy writing for EOB and just locked in that.
Is this while he was playing with you in EOB? So y'all were roommates and you were writing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a little factory at the house. I was downstairs in my area, writing and recording little demos. He'd be upstairs doing his thing.
Awesome.
And then we'd come together and record with Jamie. So I would come with this very computer, come in and demo songs, where I would just sort of play everything, and then I'd be like, all right, here you go, guys. Do what you want with it. The only thing I want to keep is this particular thing. Anyway, I've gotten totally away from what I was going to say about you. I touched on it earlier that you play a lot of different styles. You play them damn good.
Thank you.
I've seen you play with Powder Mill. I've seen you play with, like I was saying, we were goofing off doing the country thing, which sounded nothing like the Powder Mill stuff. I mean, this was straight honky tonk. Then I've seen you play gigs with, like you were saying, Cinderblock, which is kind of a metal, hair metal, 80s metal kind of thing. That is amazing. What kind of... Because some guys sort of get trapped. They'll say, oh, I'm a particular type of player. What made you veer from saying, I'm this kind of keyboard player?
You know, I have heard people make this statement before. Yeah, so what? You can copy this guy, and you can copy that guy, and you can sound like this guy. Why don't you be original? That's all fine and dandy, and originality comes in spurts, and it comes when it comes.
Yeah.
But when you can sit down and fluently copy 20 different people that have 20 different things going on, and you can do it fluently, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If you can play the Doc Watson, if you can do the Ronnie Millsap, I love that guy. I love
Great
the way he
piano
plays.
player. Yeah.
Some of the keyboard stuff in the Eagles, love it. Bruce Hornsby, he's a keyboard god. You know, so if you can reproduce all these different styles, that is pretty much what rounds you and creates you and your original shit. Okay? Like I said, I never was a singer. I was always the pocket guy. I was always the hired gun. Hey, we need Roy to fill these holes, man, and then we're going to do our shit.
Twinkles.
So then I would have to learn this style, and I would learn this style in order to do what, these other bands wanted out of me. And that's what kind of rap.
And as a result, you probably made more money than a guy that's just going to play soul piano or one particular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you did it for the money. Don't get me wrong. I firmly believe guys like yourself and a lot of us make music because we just have to fucking do it.
Right.
Just have to do it.
No. I mean, it
That's
takes
not
money
to say I want to play for free.
Right. It takes money. It took money to go buy that $3,000 Roland that I drag around from bar to bar.
Damn straight.
Okay.
It costs money to put in your gas tank to drive an hour and a half to go get paid for.
Right. And then you got to drive back and you got to haul that shit in. And,
right. But I would say to a young cat, be like a Roy Ward. Learn as many styles as you can.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to get more gigs. If people complimenting is your thing, then ooh, good deal. You're going to get that too. But you know as well as I do that. Yeah, we like to be complimented. You like to be encouraged for your hard work. There's hard work. But at the same time, we want to make a little bit of money. We want to get our musical yayas out.
We want to leave our mark.
And we definitely want to leave that mark. When it's all said and done, and I say this with so many musicians now leaving us, just yesterday, Glenn Fry.
Right.
Before that, David Bowie, the drummer for Mott the Hoople, as well as David Bowie. He passed away too, and I forgot his name. Yeah. Well, we got all these, Lemmy. We got all these guys. They can't make any more of an impact now.
Right.
So you're right. There's the aspect of wanting to leave behind what you can leave, your legacy for your family. Exactly. 200 years from now, here's what my great grandpappy Roy did.
Right.
Throwing down some Ray Charles. Playing some Stevie Wonder.
You was talking about styles a while ago. Back in the day when during the TaylorMade we would play at the Blue Moon, and I have literally played at the Blue Moon for close to 40 years, off and on. Jess Emery was going to do this deal with us and play country, and it was always, oh man, I don't listen to that country, till he had to come play country lead, and then he looked at me and goes, oh my God, this is so freaking hard, Roy.
Oh yeah.
I said, brother, throw your little reverb on there, slow those licks down, and feel it. He goes, this is going to make me such a much better player if I can not say master it, but if I can round myself with this country style of picking, it's going to make my rock licks fucking scream. And I go, that's correct.
That's so true.
He looked at me and goes, oh my God, Roy, I never realized that.
Yeah.
So all these different styles that you can imitate is just going to help the other one be so much better.
Oh yeah.
So much over the top.
I'll tell you something, and this is for guitar players. And you're no slouch on guitar, by the way. We haven't even talked about that. The other night we were doing Seven Bridges Road. Man, you're just laying the note, playing it note for note. And this is just me talking to anybody that plays guitar that may be listening and they want to improve their game. Get a Telecaster, put no fuzz on it, throw it in the bridge pickup, and play leads. I promise you, one, with a Telecaster, you can't cover up shit.
No.
With a Telecaster, you're going to cut through the mix.
Pew, pew, pew. Yep,
And
exactly, brother.
And if you don't know how to play, you're going to go, oh, I need the woodshed on this one area.
Yes.
I promise you that.
The way you lay your hand on the bridge, the muting on the top three, you're exactly right.
And you're not going to get away with things that you would get away with, say, with a humbucker, just distorted out, bunch of shit. Like you said, throw a Telecaster, get you a little reverb, maybe a little slapback if that's your thing, a little compression, go to town. Yeah. And I promise your guitar playing, and I only say that because from experience, when I moved up to Canada, the only gigs I could get were country gigs. So I went out and I bought me a little Telecaster knockoff from a company named Dean that we all know.
Dean.
It's called Nash Vegas guitar.
My bad.
And buddy, I didn't have a lot of time to sit and learn. I mean, I just immersed myself. I was like, all right, I got to do this because I want to make some money. And like I said, then I came back here and it was like, holy shit, man, your guitar playing improved in leaps and bounds. In fact, up there is where I just fingerpicked. No matter what, I got back here, started the EOB thing in 07, 08. I had to relearn how to use a pick.
Really?
Because I was so far removed from using a pick. But that's just my little piece of advice for anybody that's maybe wanting to do something different with guitar, feels stale. Get a Tele, practice without any distortion, no overdrive. Plug it into the driest amp possible and play your scales, play your modes and all that crap. Just play.
And another thing that always helped me, and I've seen guys do it before, if you want to build your stamina, use an acoustic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get you about 10 minutes warming up on that acoustic and then pick up that Tele, and you'll fly. Yeah. You fly.
Yeah, that's very true. So what would your advice be? I love to ask everybody on here because, again, I'm always thinking about the future, the what can we do to help somebody that's coming up through the ranks type of thing. What would you tell a young guy who says, man, I'm a keyboard player? What sort of advice would you give him about breaking into the local music scene and how to maintain any sort of I don't want to use the word status because that's such a that makes me think of like social crap. Just to maintain any sort of career or goals with the keyboard within the music community, what would you tell someone?
Basically, it would be whether or not they want to just stay locally around here and just play clubs around here till they're old and gray, or do they want to eventually, go to Nashville or go to Branson or move to LA and play. I think learning all you can, being humble is very, very hard when people are patting you on the back and you're the greatest. Staying humble, that's really hard to do.
So tell me, what's the danger in not staying humble? I've got something in my head, and I may be able to add to what you say, but what would you say is the danger of not staying humble?
If you don't have a certain degree of humbleness, nobody wants to pick with you.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be around you, and you just become this big-headed, egotistical, self-centered son of a bitch that everybody hates.
Yeah.
They put up with you because you're talented, but past that,
right?
It's not really a real friendship.
There's no joy. No joy.
Getting back to all the different styles, and you mentioned some of the things that I used to do. Some of the guys that I had the most fun playing with is Michael Mason and Chaz Watkins.
Yeah.
And Willie Jackson. Those.
Willie's a good dude too.
Dude,
man.
He is so in the pocket.
I mean, all those guys are, but there's just certain musicians you talk to, and you may not see them that often. But when you do, it's like you just pick up where you left off. Willie's one of those cats.
Yep. See, Michael only comes around, once or twice a year.
Right.
But I played with him. We were talking about it. It's been about 2 years, and I think we did Phil Childress's Christmas party 2 years ago in 2014, and the year before that was kind of basically the last year that we gigged because Chuck White, the drummer, he passed away, and he was our drummer for, I'm going to say, 12, 13 years, and then he got sick, and Willie and some of the other guys would come and fill in when he wasn't feeling good. But playing that Padonkadonk shuffle and that country stuff, that's probably my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff appeals to a lot of different people. I don't know where I was going with that, but Chaz and Michael, those guys are just, and Willie. Besides Powder Mill, which on the big stages and the lights and all that was really, really super fun, the John D. Hale stuff.
Uh-huh.
But the music that I made with those guys, just off the cuff, because the Powder Mill, that's a whole different thing. That's Powder Mill by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, its own entity.
Right.
And
right.
I was glad to be a very, very small part of that for a while. But like I said, to be able to do 20 different styles and genres with some cats that are like-minded, that was pretty awesome for me, And it's the most recent guys that I've played with too.
That's so cool.
So
that's cool, man. Whenever you can connect musically, and it's not just a job, and it's not just putting in your hours, so to speak, punching the clock.
Yeah, and you ain't played with these guys in a long time. You really don't give a shit if you get paid or not.
Yeah.
Just to go, hey man, we're gonna jam for 4 hours.
You may not want to say that on a podcast.
Well,
in case one of these bar owners is listening.
If you're a bar owner and you don't pay your guys what they're worth, you're a no good piece of shit. Because they've invested 30 years and thousands of dollars to coming down there, sing and play for you guys so you can sell your beer at 100% markup. So, did I cover that, brother?
I think you got it.
High five on that?
Yes, high five on that.
But anyway.
Although I've got to say, I've always had a pretty decent rapport with bar owners.
I had you too.
I really have. And I think that's even gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
From what I understand. I've just always been fortunate that I didn't really have to deal with bad bar owners. And that's the honest to God's truth. One time a bar owner did not keep up and was like, all right, I won't be back.
No.
And they're not even in business anymore. And that's another thing, too. When you look at the business side, this is something I haven't really talked with anybody on this show. Show business, even on a little hillbilly podunk stage that we're on, there is a business side to being in a band.
Absolutely.
And that could be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But there is definitely somebody that needs to be in charge of your money and somebody that isn't afraid to call a bar owner on their bullshit. Like I said, I've always been lucky. I've not had to do that role. I'm a fairly passive guy.
Well, basically the bars that play around here in this area,
yeah,
most of them are established and have dealt with all the musicians.
Right.
And the guys that work around here, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have a fly-by-night guy coming in here trying to screw folks out of, well, man, I'm 100 short this week. I'll catch you in 2 weeks and then not bring you back. There's none of that shit going on that I know of. So I'm just glad we don't have to put up with that.
Yep.
But out on the road, there were times to where, hey, man, we didn't make nothing tonight. I'm going to be 300 short. Well, brother, we got to be in Indianapolis tomorrow. Well, I'm sorry. I'll mail it to you. And they never mail nothing, So you're at their mercy.
Well, I'll tell you something else that we've got going for us as musicians these days. That little thing called the internet. And word travels fast.
Lightning fast.
I mean...
Lightning.
I've seen and heard different people talk about gigs gone bad and this, that, and the other. And I'm telling you, and this goes for musicians too.
And people pay attention to that shit.
Damn straight they do. Damn straight they do. You can also get blackballed as a musician for not having that decent attitude.
Yes.
You form a reputation for fucking people over, not showing up when you say you're going to, not doing this, not doing that.
Being late for gigs, being drunk by the second set.
Yeah.
You bet you, brother.
People are going to say, okay, well, the news is Foster there, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We're getting close. We're at the hour mark.
Are we really?
We sure are.
Man.
We will do a part 2 if you're up for it.
Sounds good. There was a lot of stuff that we
There's
didn't
a lot of
touch
stuff
on.
we haven't touched.
Yeah,
and these first few podcasts is really just kind of introducing people to who you guys are.
Right.
Part 2 is when I want to get into the deep shit.
Right.
Right now, I want somebody. I've got friends in Arizona and California and that are listening to these podcasts, and I know because they tell me.
Right.
I want them to kind of get to know who Roy Ward is before we get into some even deeper shit, and we will. But real quick, where can somebody hear some Roy Ward twinkles on the internet? I know you're on YouTube.
On YouTube, with Scott Shipley and Dave Stepp.
Okay.
You can check out Bloom Heavy. There's some stuff on there, some live stuff that I did with Powder Mill. You'll know I'm the great big guy in the back on the left hand side with the rack of keyboards.
And the big ass beard that he had
big-ass
long
beard.
before Duck Dynasty.
30 years before Duck Dynasty, and you know, a lot of people get confused. You know, yeah, man, I heard you was in Powder Mill. I heard you was in Powder Mill. For the last 5 years, the only members of Powder Mill was the Fabulous Four, and that's Jeff, Jesse, McSpadden, and Andrew. You know,
Yeah.
Pat. So
Pat's a good dude.
they're all great guys.
Man, he's such a
man.
good dude.
They're all
Oh,
great
yeah.
guys. I don't care what anybody says.
I don't know Andy very well.
Andy has that real odd sense of humor. Great fucking guy, solid as you can get. But every now and then he'll just come up with something that's like, "Damn, Andrew, where the fuck did that come from?" He goes, "Well, I've been saving it up." You know, I'm like, okay, we get it. You know, but yeah. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. But like I said, you can go. There's some stuff on YouTube with Powder Mill that I'm in. Scott Shipley, Dave Stepp, and Roy Ward. There's a few videos on Facebook that I've done. Just, you know, walk by a piano and go, "Hey, man, I'm going to sit down and play. Here, record this."
I've got to ask you, how in the hell did you get permission to play that piano that is roped off at the hospital?
I didn't ask.
You just did it.
I just did it.
You are a rebel.
I am.
I figured they had like some sort of Jedi force field around that thing.
No, man, I just stepped over the little velvet rope, dude, and slid my...
Was it in tune? It sounded like it may have needed some tuning.
It needed some tunage. But the acoustics in that room, dude, is just
Amazing,
unreal.
huh?
Amazing. And I was just playing along, you know, and I seen this security guard coming out of my right eye, and I was like, well, I'm not stopping now. And the closer he got, the louder I played and sang. And finally, he just walked on by me. I don't know what kind of force field kept him from going, "Hey, dude, you're not supposed to be over there."
It's that Roy Ward mojo.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway, where I'm at in my life right now is I enjoy playing. You know, I enjoy playing out. But I want to, like you said, what you're doing with the podcast is what I want to do with my piano skills, and that's record.
Oh yeah.
I don't care who you are out there. If you need a rock solid in the pocket piano player, get a hold of me. Let me know. I'm on Facebook. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me. I went to first grade Kenyon School right over here on Vine Street. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me. So I don't care who you are. If you need me, holler at me and let me know, and I will do my best to make it happen for you.
Right on. Well, you definitely have my endorsement.
Well, thank you, brother, and you have mine too.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I enjoyed the hell out of this, and like you said, we will.
We will do it again. There will be another one. I promise you that. I don't plan on stopping until nobody wants to do it, and I just don't see people saying, "Nah, I don't want to talk about music."
Here's the deal, man. If you keep it interesting and you keep it fresh, you know, if you build it, they will come. So.
Somebody told me that when I first started doing this podcast.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know if anyone's going to want to listen to this shit. Who wants to listen to little old Jerry talk? Apparently, some people do, and I'm really proud of that. I'm grateful for that, honestly,
Right.
because guys like you get to come on here and tell your story. Guys like Roger get to come on and tell theirs. I get to insert little snippets of my story in there, here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was kind of worried about when I first started doing this would be like, what would the radio station think? Because I know they've kind of got their thing with musicians. Randy Bailey was the first person to say, "Brother, do this. This is awesome. This is amazing." Yeah. And it's cool. You can get on here and you can say things that you can't say on the radio station. Obviously, we're not FCC monitored or whatever. It's just a little thing we can get on here and two guys sit down, bullshit.
All right.
Talk
about anything.
Talk about anything,
You know.
which is great. Hey, this is what we do when we get together anyway.
I know.
Why not put a microphone in front of us and get it out there so more people can hear? Because, like you've said, more than ever before, the local music scene is good. People are really interested. And
I feel like there is a saturation of talent right now.
yeah,
You know, you can post videos on Facebook and invite people to your events and stuff, and you might get 3 or 4 likes, and it's like, what the hell? So that kind of tells me, you know, you can always go and see live music, which that is great.
yeah,
But I just think a lot of folks, because of their busy schedules and the economy and how hard it is right now, which that's a whole nother podcast too, they have become calloused and numb to that.
spending money.
Spending money.
Yeah, you
Love
better
the
believe it.
music, love the talent, just, you know.
You know, I had a friend from out in Mesa, Arizona on. I piped him in through the telephone. And he was saying that one of the things out there that he preferred was playing places that did not have a cover charge. Great podcast to listen to. His name is Brian Dellinger. The reason being, people feel obligated to stay somewhere when they pay a $5 cover charge, even though it's only $5.
They want to get their $5 worth,
They want to get
man.
their $5 worth, but it also can deter people from coming because they're like, fuck that, that's a beer. If a guy's going out trying to chase ass, pardon my bluntness, well, let's face it, there are guys that go out to bars to try to bet a woman.
$5 is 2
That's
beers.
another drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a drink to try to, you know, get on a girl's good side. You know,
Right.
bought her a drink. Now I've got an end to talk to her.
Yeehaw liquid. What that's
Yeah, well. Well, anyway, on that note, Roy, I'm going to wrap it up. Man, I appreciate you coming over.
Very welcome, man.
Very
Thanks
cold
for-
outside.
I got to get home and stoke that fireplace.
You're going to
boy.
have to get home and stoke that fireplace. I just really appreciate your contribution to the local scene.
Thank you,
Definitely
man.
appreciate you being on here. And anybody listen, like the man said, if you need someone to record, look him up. I don't think he's lying about that. I recommend you. There's not a style I've heard you play that was not good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And that's not ass kissing. That's just the truth. So anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I'd like to thank Mr. Roy for being here. I appreciate all who have stuck around and listened. And until next time, just be yourself.
Amen.